Welcome to Disconnected. The only reason I'm making you watch this is because it's hilarious. So the headline goes, if I'd known I was debating Albie, I would have said no. Calvin meets Albie after Twitter block. So we're talking about Calvin Robinson, the hyper-Christian, anti-gay, anti-everything, unless it's in the Bible guy. So, you know, I'm going to say something horrible here, but if he wants to know... No, I'm not going to say. I'm going to leave it. It's better than... Anyway, I don't know who Albie is. I've got no idea. See if there's anything what we can find on Mr. Albie Amankona. Who are you, sir? Conservatives against racism for equality. Is there a Wikipedia for him? I'm sorry, I always like to know who we're talking about. Who is Albie Amankona? Why is this all here? I don't even know if this is the same guy because there's no picture of him. Albie Amankona is exactly recognized to be the founder and CEO of the Conservatives Towards Racism for Equality. CARFE is a company devoted to combating towards race. Why is this written so poorly? This can't be right. I'm not going to read that if it's so badly written. Okay, here we are. Yeah, this is the guy. So, what is this? Reaching out through the entire party and across society. Our campaign began in a way, blah, blah, blah. The fallout from George Floyd's killing in Britain, the divisive BLM protest. In response, we launched a pledge to this garnered the support of MPs, including Jeremy Hunt, Robert Halfon, Guy Opperman, and Tim Lutton. To truly make a difference, we need to reach larger audiences, and to do much more. For that, we need your help to build this. Albie is a member of the Brentford and Isleworth Conservatives, TRG and LGBT plus Conservatives. He is a contributor to Conservative Home and the New Blue Book. He is passionate about the how the Conservative Party can appeal to minority groups and young voters. Outside politics, he works in the city as a financial analyst. He graduated from the London School of Economics in 2017, where he was one of the first openly gay members of an athletics union committee for LSC Rowing Club. I'll never understand why gay people would either want to be part of an obviously anti-gay kind of political party or a religious institution or anything like that. I think that it's a little bit like these women who go for really horrible men because they think they can change them. No, obviously, the only thing to do with conservatives is to beat them in the polls and making sure that they become insanely insignificant for the rest of any country's future. That's my opinion. And I doubt you can do that from the inside because it's such a club. Anyway, so now we know who Albie Amankona is. So let's watch this video. I cracked up. I'll try not to crack up this time. So obviously, we know that Calvin is quite... Well, he says he's not anti-gay, but he says a lot of things which basically means that gay people and trans people just have no rights to do anything because the Bible said so. And obviously, I'm going to say Albie Amankona seems to be a fairly, easygoing, nice guy by the looks of it, who's trying to change the Tories from the inside. Good luck with that, sir.
And once confined to America, events featuring drag queens reading books and performing to children have now made their way to these shores. So these pictures from a drag queen baby event in London earlier this month sparked outrage from critics who say hypersexualised performers should not be prancing around in front of kids. And then Calvin Robinson attended a protest at a different venue over the weekend. Have a look at this.
What is that?
Culture wars are bullshit. I have found the best example of the culture wars and their stupidity in this corner of South East London on a Friday lunchtime.
We're here to protest the idea of sexualising children. evil.
We think it's abhorrent. We think that children should remain innocent for as long as possible. And we think it's an amazing thing for grown-ups to read to children, but we don't think it's a good thing for drag queens to be reading to children.
How on the one hand can you have Roald Dahl books that need to have hurty words taken out of them, and on the other hand we're lowering and lowering and lowering the age to which we can twerk in a child's face?
Now, that was a very misleading video from the left-wing political outfit Joe.
It wasn't this misleading at all, because I watched it. They went to this rally where they were protesting, from what I understood, under Calvin Robinson. I'm not going to call you Father Calvin Robinson, because you're no father. You're just another deranged, crazy religious type who uses the scriptures to justify, being an asshole. So let's not go there. Sorry, I just saw this here. I feel sorry for Prince Harry. Father Calvin Robinson. Anyway, so they went to this rally, and Politics Joe had a reporter there, and they were talking to Calvin and some of the other protesters, but they also spoke to the parents, who obviously were there and attended these readings. And they were saying two different things. On the one side, Calvin and the other guys were saying that, oh my God, there's a hypersexualized drag queens reading stories and being all weird. And on the other hand, the parents were going, no, they were just like basically drag queens reading children's books for the kids. That was it. However, looking at this video here, just remember this time 104. If you look at these, I'm sorry. I mean, to be fair, I don't really think that's necessary either, So, is it? Where's the other picture? So who's now actually reading? Is it these guys, girls, them, they, or is it this one here? I mean, this one.
And then Calvin Robinson attended a
Or
protest.
this one. I mean, I don't really see the problem there, but okay. Anyway. So it looks to me like GB News invited these two to have a debate live, and Calvin didn't know who he was meeting, and so it begins.
Joe. But in the aftermath of that, the political commentator Albie Amankona hit out at Calvin on Twitter asking, anyone else tired of people embarrassing the conservative movement like this? The GB News man responded by blocking his fellow conservative. So what do you
that's
think?
what you do.
Was Calvin right to challenge the drag queen story time movement? Dan at GB News is the email address. You can vote in our poll right now. And I'm delighted to say, returning to do battle on this once more, this time in the flesh, Albie Amankona and Calvin Robinson. So Albie, explain your tweet.
So
why did Calvin embarrass the conservative movement by protesting the drag queen story time?
Well, it was just in this particular instance. I mean, maybe Calvin can tell us why he went to the protest, but from the video, which you say is misleading, but from the video that I saw, it highlighted that Calvin and Lawrence, another GB News star, got nothing against either of the two gentlemen personally, went to go and protest Drag Queen Story Hour outside your new local pub, the Honour Oak pub, I believe. So maybe you'll be protesting with them as well. And actually, the event in question was not taking place. There were no drag queens, there were no children being read to by drag queens. And personally, I just found the lack of organisation a little bit embarrassing, whether or not I agree or disagree with the intention behind the process.
Calvin Robinson, you're very angry about Albie's reaction. Why?
I'm not angry.
So you don't have to watch my video, literally just copying this to show you and my reaction to it. You can go to GB News and watch this whole thing yourself, but it is definitely worth watching because it becomes fantastic. It's basically like a cat fight in there. Now, what I didn't know until literally I'm doing this video is that Albie's gay. And Calvin is going to make some accusations about how Albie was very toxic about and to Calvin on Twitter. I'm assuming. Well, we'll watch it again, but get to the point of it. But I can now see why he would be. He's gay, and Calvin is very, very anti-gay. He can say what he likes. He's anti-gay, and that's just that.
At all. Very disappointed, actually very suspicious. So I accepted the invitation to come on tonight, not knowing I was against Albie. I thought we were having a debate against someone random. I didn't know. If it was him, I would have said no, because I'm suspicious of his motivations. I'm happy to debate people who I think are wrong, but I don't think you can debate evil. Now, he's going to sit here dishonestly saying it was about that particular event, right? But he's also been retweeting articles that say that actually character assassinate me, but also in the articles, this is a Times piece by David Aronovich, that says there's no evidence of the...
I hate it when people goes like, "Oh, I've been character assassinated." No, they've just spoken the truth about you, and you don't fucking like it. You don't like the truth they spoke about you. Let's sorry.
These drag queens sexualising children whatsoever. I mean, the most basic cursory internet search will show Miss Rachel Ray charged with possession and production of indecent, prohibited images against children. Bruce Williams charged with 2 counts of possession of child porn. Darren Moore found dead in Cardiff, convicted of child rapist. Ada HD, drag queen story hour person who raised money for a convicted sex offender. I'm very, very disappointed that someone can sit here and deflect and try to make the issue about me on his Twitter, or try to make the issue about Lawrence Fox and people like us who are out there defending children's innocence, there's nothing more important than that.
And what was the truth?
It makes him complicit.
What was the truth about the event, Calvin? Was it called off because of your protest?
So that event was advertised. We advertised that we were going to go and protest it. The event was removed from their website sneakily, but you can still find it there on the internet history. However, we weren't protesting that individual event. And the Joe Politics interview that I gave, quite generously, he asked me, is this about this particular event? I said, no, it's about the movement. We think that drag queen story hour is inappropriate. I think it's a safeguarding concern for men dressed as women, scantily clad, in thongs and bondage gear, thrusting and gyrating in front of children. I think that's unacceptable. So I'm here to protest the movement. They cut that bit from the interview.
Of course they did. Of course they did, because they're a very biased organisation. Albie Amankona,
So, I watched the Politics Joe. The message was crystal clear what they were protesting for. There was no doubt, even though they cut that piece off, it was pretty clear. He got his message across. You can find it on Politics Joe. Cutting that piece didn't change or alter the message of Calvin that he was trying to portray. But again, it's funny when people like GB News say that, of course they're biased. Of course they're biased. We're not biased. We're like the only ones with the truth.
About the drag queen story hours themselves, do you think it is every parent's right to expose their children to whatever sexual material they want to, or do you feel like there should be protection for children against those sorts of displays?
Look, the first thing I would say is I've not been to every single drag queen story hour which has taken place in the United Kingdom, and certainly not in the United States of America. I don't know whether or not all of them are age-appropriate or are inappropriate, but I believe the parents who say...
See, again, that looks perfectly fine. But I think this is one of the things that we're not getting from this whole story, which is probably the more important piece. Let me just see, where are we? We're at 5:12. So if this is your drag queen storyteller and she's telling stories, what's the problem? However, if this is your storyteller,
should not be prancing around.
There is probably a problem to a lot more people than just the right or Calvin. Because this is really unnecessary and just weird and awful in any shape or form for any age. So, and if you really want to see it, I mean, you can go and see it, and that's your prerogative. But for children's stories, that's probably not right. So the real question that should be asked is, what is the truth here? Is this really the majority of the stuff, or is this the majority of the stuff that happens? Is this like a one-off? Is this from something else? Considering it's full of kids and babies, I'm assuming that this is definitely real. But it would probably be more interesting from a journalistic point of view to know, well, what is the norm here when it comes to these drag queen storytelling times?
Certainly not in the United States of America. I don't know whether or not all of them are age-appropriate or are inappropriate, but I believe the parents who say that the drag shows that they've been to, in fact, like the parent that was interviewed in the same interview Cavill was interviewed on, was saying that the event was completely age-appropriate, and I will defend the right of parents to decide what content to expose their children to. And in a free society, you've got to say that people can do what they like as long as...
Wait till they fight.
A strip show.
Because Albie, look at that.
It's grooming.
Look at this. Do you believe this is age-appropriate, what we're showing on screen at the moment?
That particular drag show, which we're watching at the moment, no, I don't think that is age-appropriate. I wouldn't take a child to that show. However, as I said before, Dan, I trust the parents who say the drag shows that they take their children to are age-appropriate.
Right.
So are you calling them liars?
No, I said it's a lame argument. I didn't call anyone a liar. The only person I'm calling a liar is you, Albie.
How am I a liar?
Because you are sitting there...
What am I lying about?
OK, I'll answer the question. You're sitting there pretending to be...
You've just called me evil earlier on.
I think your stance is evil.
Stop being so over-dramatic.
Are you going to let me answer the question, or are you just going to talk over me?
Calvin, please do continue.
With your permission, I shall.
Please do continue.
Now, it's OK to sit there and say people like me are embarrassing the Conservative movement. However, people like you are the problem here because you're complicit in this child pornography. You're complicit in this grooming of young children.
Because
you are saying that actually it's OK
reading stories
for individual parents,
to children.
It's for individual parents
which is age appropriate. How is that?
You want to make yourself look like a reasonable Conservative. But some things are not reasonable. Some things are entirely inappropriate.
Calvin,
and underrated.
Reading to children.
Albie, let Calvin respond, and then I'll let you.
Adults reading to children is fantastic. It's one of the most beautiful.
Does it matter what they wear?
Yes, it does matter what they wear.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if they're wearing, if a drag queen went in a nun's outfit reminiscent of your vicar's outfit, would that be appropriate or inappropriate? Or is it just because it's a man wearing women's clothes that makes it inappropriate?
Because Albie, I don't think anyone has an issue with children attending pantomime, for example.
Exactly.
Where you've got great pantomime dames like Christopher Biggins, you know, who I absolutely adore. I think the difference is, and I know from personal experience, you know, drag shows are all about sexual content.
It's sexualised.
They are
but if it's
incredibly
sexually
provocative.
It's not age-appropriate, it's sexualised content. People like you say it's not happening. Then you say, oh, it is happening, but it's not happening how you say it is, Calvin. And then you say it is happening and it's a good thing. You are the problem here.
You are literally
people
putting
like
words
you
into
are
my
the
mouth.
problem.
Calvin, you are actually the problem here. You clearly have some sort of issue with my stance on this. You've called me
absolutely,
evil earlier on.
Yes.
You blocked me on Twitter.
I blocked you on Twitter
me in the
because I
green
gave you
room when I said hello to you. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you.
That's so patronising and condescending. I'm embarrassed for you.
It's embarrassing. That's patronising. No, you're patronising.
For being complicit in a movement that's clearly grooming young children. You should be, as a Conservative, you should be pro-family. You're comfortable
I'm
with that position.
pro-freedom, that's what I am.
But grooming and paedophilia is not freedom.
It's not grooming and paedophilia for men dressed in women's clothes to read stories.
Sexualised behaviour like you've just seen on the television. We just showed it right there.
That was inappropriate.
That's what's happening up and down the country.
Was inappropriate, but I trust the parents who say
it's interesting,
the shows are age appropriate.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because it's usually parents on the left who attend these drag shows with their kids on the whole.
I wouldn't say that at all. I'd say it was younger
parents. These are the same lefty folk who want to censor the brilliant books of Roald Dahl. I mean, that feels like a real inconsistency to me.
Yes, I think it's equally inconsistent for Conservatives who do not believe in censorship to essentially call for censorship. And that is my problem with Calvin's position. He is not allowing parents to make that choice of what they want to expose their children to. I have said some of this is not age-appropriate, but it's not breaking a law, and that means it is not for me to get involved in those decisions that parents make.
Anne Widdecombe's going to talk about sex education later, which is being pushed further down into primary school, and inappropriate content is reaching children. We're seeing the breaking down of boundaries all over the country. It's inappropriate because they cannot reproduce, so you want to recruit. That's what's happening here.
Just out of
and
interest,
you, as a Conservative, a so-called Conservative,
what's your view on the legal harms bill, on the online harms bill, and the legal but harm?
I always find it when somebody is so militant against something that they don't like, that there is something else going on. You know, it's like that video we watched the other day about the government in the US who was, you know, part of underwriting certain anti-marriage laws for gays, and at the same time he's like fawning over this gay guy being half naked on Instagram, sending him all sorts of little love hearts and nice this and nice that and little fire emojis and everything. You always have to wonder, is he maybe gay? Is Calvin maybe gay and he just really hates himself for being gay because, I don't know, his upbringing or the people he's with or the church he was in or whatever? Does he not maybe rather, instead of being on TV making a big fuss about things, shouldn't he maybe rather be in, I don't know, some sort of psychiatrist's office talking about his problems and his childhood? I don't know. It just feels like him, and I don't know. Probably not. Maybe, I don't know. Although it's just somebody gets so militant about somebody else's like decisions and sexuality and how they want to dress, and then they get so fantastically worked up about it. So much so that they will then heavy-handedly join a religion so that they can justify their stance out of a few selected passages in a book. Is, I don't know. It's suspicious, man.
Harmful content. What's your view on that? Just out of interest, do you think that should be included in the bill?
I think we should do everything we can to protect children.
So you think this?
But I think
the legal but harmful clause in the online harms bill?
Every single time you ask me a question, you talk over my answer.
Yes or no?
You are entirely unreasonable.
Yes or no?
Who do you think you are?
I'm asking you a question. You've not answered. I'm asking you a question. You've not answered.
I am absolutely done with you. I cannot talk to someone who is this unreasonable.
You're not answering the question.
Okay. You know what this looks like? This is why I kind of say what I say about maybe there's something to Calvin. Maybe he's not entirely honest about his own sexuality. Because this whole thing here looks more like a spat between lovers than anything else. Especially his whole body language, his posture, and his expression. It looks more like he's like really pissed off because his boyfriend did something, cheated on him at the nightclub on the weekend, or I don't know, didn't put the lid down of the toilet, or doesn't like properly roll up the toothpaste. When it's finished, the toothpaste tube is all crunkled up in the bathroom. That's what this feels like.
Fascinating debate. I enjoyed it.
So did I.
So
We need some holy water in this place. That's what we need.
Oh, I would go up in flames.
You probably would, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Well, say that again. Please say that again.
Fascinating debate. I enjoyed it.
So did I.
We need some holy water in this place. That's what we need.
Oh, I would.
You see, what a fucked up fucking comment. We need some holy water in this place.
Go up in flames.
You probably would, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I pray for your soul.
Thank you,
Albie Amankona. Thank you both so much. But who do you agree with?
I enjoyed that tremendously. I must admit, that was my favourite of all of it. My absolute favourite. It wasn't the fact that they were arguing. It wasn't the fact it was them. It was the fact how they argued. It was the Calvin's whole kind of like looking like the you know, the hard done by partner in the relationship who's like just like completely triggered now. He's had enough of of his boyfriend. This is so good. Thank you very much. Comment below. Thank you.